Hello everyone, welcome back to another session by K21Academy. Today our experts trainer will be talking about some ways to manage database in Azure. So let's get into the video.
Now guys, what are the ways that we will be able to manage over here? So guys, the thing is that the historical database, what we used to have on the on-premises was either as a physical machine or either as a virtual machine. And we required the server credential in order to access that particular database. So we have a server through which we log in, and then we have a database through which we will be accessing. And then we used to run our SQL queries on top of it in order to fetch that particular information. Similar mechanism is available within Azure, but guys, here we have to manage the hardware. If it is a physical machine or it's a virtual machine, you have to take care of the operating system and the environment inside which that particular database is available. Now, let's say I don't want to take the responsibility of the operating system and the hardware beneath it. So for that, Microsoft has given us the option that I can go ahead and create an SQL database that where we will have a server, and that particular server is managing that particular database for me. Now, for that particular requirement, what we have that we can go into all services. I will be targeting SQL. Now, in your SQL, you will be able to create this particular database. So I'm going into the SQL service now. Inside the SQL service, you will be able to select your resource group. So please select the RG over here. Here you will be able to give the name of your database. So you can give a name, let's say my test for DB over here. Let's say this is the name of my database that I have provided. And here I'm going to provide my DB server name. Okay, so here I can give a name, let's say my test for DB server. This is the name I have given. And location I'll be creating in the East West. Now, how you would like to authenticate your database, whether you would like to authenticate from your administrator credentials from the Azure AD, or you can have your SQL authentication or from the Azure AD, both that you can have, or you can have SQL authentication. So currently I'll just keep an SQL authentication where I'll be creating a username and a password through which I will be accessing this particular database. So your server will have the credential through which you will be able to log into your database service over here. So the moment you are going to click on OK, it gives you that particular information now that your username and the password has now been selected as a server. The further option of the Elastic Pool. Now, just like your on-premises guys or on your virtual machine, you can install more than one databases over here, right? Inside that particular VM. Similarly, guys, you can have more than one particular databases as a part of the Elastic Pool, which can have the shared compute model. So we call it Elastic Pool, where you can share the compute. Okay. So this is just to optimize the compute of your database requirement over here. Right. Now, depending guys, let's say if one of the application is using this particular database, another application is using another database over here, or let's say this particular database is completely utilized and there are some underutilized database are available, right? So you can elastically increase the capacity of this particular database so that this can use the compute associated with the existing resource. So this is an efficient mechanism, just like what we have over here, that multiple databases on the same machine, you can have the server which have the elastic pool where the compute can be shared. So you can enable and you can name the elastic pool where you can have multiple databases exist inside it. Currently, we are not using any elastic pool. I'm going to create a server and I'm going to create a database. Now, how you would like to select the compute? Because over here, there is no virtual machine that we can select the size of the virtual machine and we can decide the compute. So in just like in your web app, we have designed the compute using the ACO, which is nothing but a comparison of your machine size and your Azure computing unit. In the similar fashion, over here, what we will have is the compute and the storage associated with it. So the moment you will be selecting this particular configuration part over here, you will get an option associated that you will get an option for general purpose, hyperscale, and business critical option. And you have DTU, that is database throughput unit or database transaction unit. So you have two billing models. So on both the billing models, guys, you will be able to select basic and you can mention that what will be the size of the database that you required. And on the basis of that, it will be going to charge you over here. Similarly, if you like to go via legacy way, that you can select general purpose and it will going to give you the option for provisioning the database, where you will be able to select the number of the vCodes and the number of the database size, and accordingly, guys, your charges will vary. So currently for 32 GB of the storage and 2 vCodes, it will going to cost me approximately 27,000 USD. But let's say, and that is a monthly cost, but let's say I'm not aware about that how much I'm going to use it initially. So I can also go with a serverless mechanism that it will give me the minimal compute and it will be charged later on. So guys, gradually you can increase it. So it is flexible, guys. Any given point of time, you can change from serverless to provision, but that is only available for general purpose scale purpose over here. Let's say if I would like to go via hyperscale, your hyperscale gives us the capacity to scale. So this will be for higher workloads over here that you can see. So this is for the scalability, that this will give you the throughput between 1 to 10 millisecond over there. If you required further high capability of the transaction, you can go for the business critical, which can support up to 1 to 2 millisecond of the transaction associated with that. And accordingly, you will be able to select the size. And you can see, guys, with the same size, it is costing me around 73,586 on the monthly basis, depending on the performance part. So depending on your performance requirement, guys, you will be able to select your tier. So currently I will be going with general purpose, where I'll be selecting the serverless over here. So it will costing me minimal. So it will be costing me around 344 USD on monthly basis. So I'm going to apply that now. Now further, there is an option, guys, for your backups. Here you will have an option that if you would like to take a backup of that particular database, whether that particular backup will be local redundant, zone redundant, or geo redundant. Now, depending on your requirement, let's say if you'd like to get that particular data copy synchronously updated in the backup, you can go with the local, that it will help you creating the instant copy. But let's say you would like to keep a particular database in cross-region environment, right? You can go for the geo redundancy as well, that your copies of the backup will still be available if in case that particular region goes down. So for that particular requirement, you can go for the geo redundant requirement. Zone redundant is self-explanatory. It will be available in those regions where the zones are available, and it will keep the copies available in different zone as well to avoid a single point of failure. In the networking option, how you would like to access this particular database. So let's assume, guys, this is my machine. My machine is available outside that particular network where this particular database is available, because this is a pass. So you don't have to manage any network. But let's say if you like to access this particular database, whether you would like to allow it from the public network or whether you are allowed from a specific private endpoint, just like your storage account, this option is available. So here, if you go with the public, you can enable this particular option, and your database is intelligent enough to detect your public IP, through which it will be able to provide you the accessibility on this particular machine. Now, let's say I would like to create a private endpoint. Just like your storage account, it does give you the capability of creating your private DNS zone, through which you will be able to create a dependency on a particular subnet to have the accessibility to this particular database as well. So that option is also available just like your storage account over here. So depending on your business need, guys, if you're looking for the excessive security, probably you can enable this particular option and you can create a dependency on a particular subnet to have the accessibility to the database. Currently, what I would like to go with the public endpoint, and I would like to click on yes over here. Here you will be able to enable the firewall setting where allow the accessibility to this particular resource. And here it will be able to detect your public IP. Now your database is so secure that even Azure services cannot access the database until and unless you would like to allow them. So there are two ways, guys, that you can deal with. That you can click this option as no. The moment you will try to integrate the service, it will throw you an error with a public IP, that which public IP you need to allow to have the accessibility, and you can add that public IP to integrate that particular service. So what I will do, guys, I will not keep this option yes, I will keep this option no, so that whatever options that will be coming into the picture, you can add that public IP and only then Azure services will be able to communicate. So that option you can keep it no over here at the moment. If you say yes, by default, all Microsoft service can access this particular database. So if in case you have to integrate other services, any monitoring service, any search service, cognitive services that you would like to add to enhance the searching capability of the database, you can directly integrate. But if you want your permission to be added first at the server side, then you can keep it no. So I will keep it no at the moment, and I will show you how you can integrate afterwards. Further, in order to create a connection policy that it will be accessible through a particular gateway over here, or redirecting to a particular URL and then it will be redirecting to the database, you can configure that in order to enhance the security. Currently, I will use default redirect policy over here, which will be used by Azure. Further security option, if you like to get a recommendation from Microsoft Defender service, you can set that I would like to use the free trial to get the Defender service enabled. Ledger, guys, this is available in the preview phase. So not recommended for the production workload at the moment. But let's assume you would like to use this. So in order to detect any of the security vulnerabilities or integrity challenges, it will keep an extra space in order to capture that particular information. So guys, if you enable this, it will have the implication on the cost. So if you want to use this particular service where it will be able to cryptographically verifies your integrity data and detecting associated with the tampering of any of the information, you can enable this particular service and it will give you the information associated with that by keeping the additional rows and columns into the database over here. So it will digest this particular data to your storage and it will enable the functionality which make all table in your databases that can be updated, and this option cannot be changed after creation of the database. So guys, be careful while enabling this particular option because it have the cost implication associated with that. But for preview, we don't go for a production workload. For testing, yes, guys, you can keep this enabled. Identity option. So this is again an option for system assigned and user assigned managed identity. So whether you would like to allow the accessibility to the database to use your role-based access control, you can enable this particular option. So that option, guys, just in case if you like to assign a role to the service to have the accessibility to another application. So this mechanism that you can use in case you would not like to use your access policies or connection string to have the accessibility. So apart from that, you can directly grant and role to the service. Let's say you can enable the system assigned manage identity. There will be an identity associated with that and you can directly assign a role. So guys, I hope you all are aware about the system assigned manage identity. This we have discussed multiple times in the previous lectures. I hope this part is clear to everybody. Apart from that, we have an option that what kind of the encryption that you would like to use for this particular database. Now guys, for that particular encryption, you can create your key vault, you can create a key, and you can also use your own key as well. So currently guys, I'm not going to use any key vault at the moment in order to encrypt it. I'm just using the system assigned system managed keys over here or Microsoft platform managed keys that you can say. And in this particular data, I'm going to keep some sample data in this database. So this database, I don't want to keep blank. If you already have a backup, you can use that particular backup and you can select this particular backup to create a database for that. So that option is also available. So currently I'm going to use sample and I'm going to create this particular SQL database over here. If I go back to your SQL database service over here, now what are the capabilities this particular SQL DB service that you will find over here? So guys, the first thing first, this is the DB interface. First, we need to understand how your SQL server will be utilized over here. So in your my test for DB server, we are at the server side of your SQL database that you have created. Now guys, these options are common, right? Like overview, activity log, role-based access control that you can assign, tag will be there. And there are predefined troubleshooter in the diagnostic and solving problems that you will find. Now, if you like to create an additional database which you would like to manage through this particular server, you do have a choice available that you can create an additional database and the same database will be managed by the same server over here as well. You can do that. Further option is for Elastic Pool. If you like to keep multiple databases in the same Elastic Pool as well, you can create a separate Elastic Pool and you can start managing it for the efficient compute optimization capabilities. So this option is available. You can create an Elastic Pool and you can mention another database in that particular Elastic Pool, which will be the member database associated and managed by the same server. You also have an option, guys, if you have a data warehouse. Now, data warehouse is nothing but a high performing database, which will be supporting parallel injections of multiple database over here. So you can click on this new dedicated SQL pool and over here you can give your SQL pool name, and on the basis of that you will find the performance level where you will be able to configure your generation 1 and generation 2. But guys, this is very expensive, so until and unless you don't have such a high capability requirement, don't go for that. As you can certainly understand that on per hour basis it will be costing you more than 1000 INR. So on a day it can consume approximately 24,500, that too on a single day. So guys, you can understand that the database consuming a month, it will be consuming in a day or two itself. So this will only required if you are dealing with the big data analytics. where you are injecting, petabytes of the information in one go, where you have multiple pipelines injecting the data inside the database over here. So for such kind of the requirement, you will have this particular option available. Similarly, you will have your Azure Active Directory option available. Now, if in case you would like to have a group of users managing this particular SQL DB server, you can enable this particular option, and you have this particular capability available that you can use Azure Active Directory, and you can allow users or your service principal to have the management capability to your SQL server as well. Further option, what all multiple databases you will be managing. So currently it is only managing one database, but if in case you have multiple databases available from this particular server, you have listed available for all this database over here. Currently, I have not created any elastic pool, so we are not able to see. But if you are using any elastic pool, you can see that in that elastic pool, which particular database is using what particular tier. So it basically helps you shuffling among the tiers. From an example, if I'm using a premium tier, but I know that currently the database is not required that much particular compute, only it is required the storage capacity, I can scale down from premium to standard. Or in case I required a higher compute and a particular stage, let's say maybe I would like to do the trembling of the data, or let's say scrambling, or any sort of the shrinking of the data associated with it. And for different actions, I may need to toggle between the computational need. I can do that. So that option is available, but currently we are not enabling any particular elastic pool over here. DTU is a quota, that is database throughput unit over here. So here you can see that out of so many compute option available over here, I'm just approximately using one out of 5400 vcodes that we have. So it is just utilizing 0.2% of the entire capacity at the moment. Properties will give you the information associated with your unique resource ID. So just in case if you point log, guys, you already aware about, to avoid any accidental delete, you can use logs. Backup will be the choices, that here you will be able to set the retention policy, that how long this particular backup will have the data available. You can select your backup and you can configure your backup policy associated with it. That point in time restore for 7 days, 8 days, maximum it can have for 35 days over here, that you can select. You can set the frequency, that every 24 hours or 12 hours you would like to have a backup. Weekly retention point, monthly retention point, you can have the retention point over the period of time for a year as well, that you can configure over here. So how frequently you would like to capture the data and how long you would like to keep that particular data, that is something that you can pick over here while configuring section over here. Further, you have the deleted database, any database that you will be deleting, you would like to restore it on a particular span of time. For that, you can use this particular option. Your failover groups will be used whenever you need to do the failover between the region. Now, how this particular failover works? Now, let's understand this, guys. Let's say if you have a machine, right? And if you have a data inside that particular database, inside that particular machine, and you would like to do the failover. So what you need to do, you need to use the ASR service, which help you migrating this particular entire VM from one region to another, where you have the database capability, and how you migrate the data using the DMA data, that is database migration assistant tool over here. Now, that is something that you will be doing when you have to migrate the data from the on-premises to the cloud, when you have a VM and the database available. Now, how this will be done, we're going to talk about in the migration. But let's say if I need to do the failover in this particular service where I have a server and the database available. So what you have to do, that first you need to create a migration for your server, and then for the database which will be managed by that particular server. So let's assume that this particular server and the database is available in one particular region, let's say East US. In order to replicate that particular data to the another region, what you have to do, you have to create another server, and then you need to enable data replication for the database as well. So your server migration will ensure that your server will be migrated successfully, and your database replication option will take care of the database migration through the PaaS offering in the another region altogether. Now, guys, in another region altogether, if you will be migrating, you need to take care of few things. First thing first, you need to ensure there will be a server available over there. So for that particular purpose, what you will be doing, you will going to add this particular option, and it will give you the option to create a failover group. So you can give a name, my test for failover group. And apart from that, what you need to do, you need to create a server over here in the another region. So for that, you can click on server. You can give a name, let's say my test for failover server, and then you have to create a server login credential for the another region over here, just like I have created for current region initially. And once you will be done that, you have to select that particular location where exactly you would like to have this particular failover happen. So let's say I would like to create this in Central US. And what you will do, you will going to create this particular server. Once this particular server will be created, you will decide the frequency of read and write, and you will create this particular group over here. Once this particular group will be created, what you have to do, you have to go back to your database and you have to replicate your database. So this part will going to take care of your server replication, and you have a separate server managing the database. I'm again coming back to the database portal, and in the database portal, you have the option available for replicas over here. So once your server will be created in the Central US region, what you have to do, you have to go into the replicas option and you have to create a replica in the Central US. And you have to select which server will be managing that particular database in that particular region. So currently it is not showing that. We have to wait for a few seconds. By the time the another server that you have created in the Central US region will be available over here, you can select that and you will be able to select that particular database as well. So this will take a while. You can see guys, my test for failover Central US is available. I have selected that. And guys, it has automatically picked the configuration that I have already used. Serverless Gen 1 32 GB storage. See, this is automatically selecting the same size of my database that we have. And the moment I will be able to create, it will deploy a separate SQL database managed by the server that you have created during the failover group creation. So meanwhile, this is getting created. You can go back to your server once again, and you will find that there will be a failover option available that you can utilize for automatic or forceful failover as well. So I'm going back to my database, and again I'm going to target my SQL failover servers over here. And the moment you will be able to click on it, and if you will be scroll it down, you will be able to get this option of the failover groups. So now you can see guys, this failover group is available. If you click on it, you will be able to find that the failover is created in the Central US region. So it will be giving you the option whether it will be automatic failover, but currently this region is not down. So it is not going to do automatic. So in order to see that, you need to do the forceful failover over here. The moment you will click on yes, what it will do initiate the failover from this particular region to the another region. So that capability can be utilized. If you want to import any of the data, if you have done, and if you have exported any particular data, you will be able to see the history of that particular operation over here, that which particular operation has been taken at what duration of time. So this is for tracking purpose that you will be able to use. Now, all these security features you will be able to find in this particular pane. For an example, if you like to audit that information. Now guys, in order to audit the information, you have to capture the logs, because without the logs, you won't be able to capture this information. Now, where you will be able to store the logs, either you can store the logs in your storage account, or either you can send it to your log analytics workspace if you want to query the data using KQL, or if you would like to keep that particular data for the messaging service, you can send it to your event hub as well. So you will get all these three options available. So the moment you will enable this option, you will find your storage account option, that you can select your subscription and you can select your storage account where you would like to capture the data. Or if you want to send this data for the analytics purpose, you can send this data to your log analytics workspace, or you can send it to the event hub if in case you want to use this all the incoming information for the messaging, that how many information is coming over here. So for that, you will be able to use your event hub as well. So all the capabilities are available. Currently, I am not using Event Hub. I can select your storage and log analytics and I can save it, and it will start capturing that particular information for the auditing purpose. Firewall setting will give you the option whether you would like to have the accessibility or not. And as you can see guys, initially what I have enabled to allow the accessibility through my machine, you can see this public IP is available over here. So this will give you the capability to get the accessibility to the database through your machines over here. So I can access from my machine, but in case if you like to create a dependency on an existing subnet, you can create that particular subnet as a service endpoint over here, right? Or you can also go via private endpoint as well. So that is up to you guys, how you would like to manage. Okay, you can create a virtual network and you can create a dependency that through that network only the accessibility will be allowed, or you can go via private endpoint connectivity as well. So that capability you can enable from the server side. Further, guys, if you like to see the recommendation, this we have enabled initially. You can click on Microsoft Defender for Cloud. You can get your recommendation done. And the moment you will click on recommendation, it will route you to your Microsoft Defender service, where you will be able to see your recommendation. See, guys, that we have seen few minutes ago. And further, if you like to enable the encryption later on, probably you created your database initially without your own key. You have used Microsoft managed key to encrypt the database, but let's say tomorrow you would like to change the decision, you would like to use your own key. That thing you can also enable later on. You just need to create a key vault and you have to have a key, and then you can use that particular key by selecting that key vault and the key over here, just like your storage account. Identity option for role-based access control, guys, for system assigned managed identity that you can enable, turn and off. So this you can enable or disable later stage as well. Further, in order to know about the performance requirement, so for that you can enable the automatic tuning. But for that, guys, you need to get the consultation done from your DB administrator, whether we can drop an index or whether we can create an index. Because, guys, managing the performance of a database by increasing the size of the machine is fine. Similarly, you can increase the compute requirement from the compute options. But the thing is, at times you may need to look into on the basis of how much data that you have in the database, or you can optimize your database by trimming, shrinking, scrambling requirement associated with that. Now, these are the different ways, guys. Let's say I would like to remove the particular data from last 6 months, that I would like to trim that particular data. So there are a number of ways, guys, that you will be able to do that. Now over here, whether you would like to drop an index or create an index, that totally depends. Let's say if I will have less amount of the data and I will have more index, again, it will going to impact the performance of your queries because your data is less and you have more and more index. Now, in order to manage your large size of the data, probably creating an index is a better choice. So over here, how you will be optimizing depending on large or less size of the data, that totally depends. And accordingly, you will be able to take that particular action in order to optimize the capability of your database.
So guys, I hope you really liked our session, and if you have any kinds of doubts, you can please comment down below and our team will reach out to you. And do not forget to give us a thumbs up. And if you are really intrigued by the kind of terms used and you want to learn more about it, then we have something really special for you. We have this free class on Microsoft Azure Solutions Architect certification, that is AZ-305. And if you want to learn more about it, then you just have to log on to K21Academy.com /Azure SA02. In this session, in this free class, you'll be learning about why you should be learning Azure Cloud, your paths to learn Azure Solution Architect Expert Certification. You'll be getting to know the difference between AZ-303, AZ-304, AZ-305, and a lot many insightful things. So if you want to do this, then all you have to do is just log on to K21Academy.com /Azure SA02. After that, you'll be seeing this kind of interface. Just click on book your free seat now and select your availability according to the event date mentioned. Add your name, add your phone number, add your email, and every detail will be conversed to you via our mail. And after that, just proceed ahead. On the extreme right, you'll be seeing this kind of link. So just copy this link, save it to your calendars, and I will see you in the next class. Till then, take care and keep hustling.